Okay, so the reason there's a standard is it's because there's an agreed upon way of doing things, and since there's a way of doing things, somebody's going to check you. Now, sometimes that's real simple. It's just, the foreman or the boss or the accounting clerk. Somebody's walking around looking at things. But sometimes it's for a certification or a report or something that resources are relying on. And then we call it an audit. And when things are audited, then there's certain documents that everybody agrees to that show that you've met the requirement. As an example, American River College is audited by the ACCJC, which I don't even remember what all that means, but it's the Accreditation Council of Community College, something or other, something or other, something or other. And they've got about a 60-page book of things that all the colleges, all the community colleges that are part of this group, there's about 300 of them, agree to that these are good practices. And they're sort of like the ISO. They're things like students should be told what they're going to learn. Okay. And then there's 20 pages of, more details about that. But then when the auditors come, they just start asking for things that we have identified in our own self-study. So our self-study says, see that standard there? Here's how we meet it. See that standard there? Here's how we meet it. And then after the how we meet it, there is, and here's how we document that we meet it. And after the document is, here's how we record that we're doing it all the time, some of the time, or when required. So audits are not scary, they're not hard, they're not difficult, they're just audits. Okay? And so we're going to treat your midterm as an audit. Now, I will say the first time you're audited, it is scary. So I own my own business. It's a small business. For many years, I had employees in that business. And so I do taxes and pay this and pay that. And I always got audited. And the first audit was scary. And then I found out that the IRS is just a bunch of people making sure you're not ripping off our government. Now, I'm not sure. I hear all sorts of things about big business that make you maybe think that they're not being audited, but I think they're all following the rules. And so I did my best to follow the rules. I was always audited just by the nature of what my tax returns looked like and the percent that my business was compared to this, that, and the other thing. And the first one was scary. And then I found out, oh, they're just people. And they're really just reading the book and asking you questions about that. So that's what we're going to do. Now, our book is not very well defined. We're always making it better and better and better. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to look and see what you've done so far. And then we're going to practice over the next week or two being audited so that when it comes to your midterm, you just kind of get with me and bing, 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 bing. And the audit's done and I go, wow, that was really good. And from what I'm seeing, many of you are already there. So let's take a look. We know what the process checklist looks like already. So I'm going to call it up and look at it. So the goal is that you're keeping one of these for each project that you work on. not each individual item that you do, but each project. So, as an example, I know Mark, you did a quick project at the beginning. You may have one of these partly filled out about it, but now you're on your main project, which, if I'm recalling, it's the AR iPhone app project. Is that correct? Okay. And so you'll have one here that says AR iPhone, and hopefully you're filling this out. And I know that you're asking all the right questions because I've been seeing in the text line and I've been looking at what you're doing. And this is getting filled out. And this is going to be a resource for you when the actual audit happens. You get to bring this with you. It would be weird to go to an IRS audit and not have my bank records and my employment records for who I've employed and my tax records. I mean, they wouldn't expect me to know that all. I have records, and you got to pop them out in front of them and discuss them. Okay? So this will be your kind of like cheat sheet, okay, with links, and you'll be able to go, oh yeah, I know that because bink, 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 and here's my evidence of who it is. Okay, so that's how this would get used. Evans, you would have one of these for your project, which is now the Weld GLE safety game, and you know who the client is, but how do you know? Do you have evidence of it? Do you have recordings of meetings and all that kind of stuff? So you would be making this up also for that project. And it would be handy, and when we have our meet, you would have this available. So does that kind of make sense to you guys, that this is a tool? It's not something you turn in, but you'll be asked some of the questions on here. The audit won't go over everything. The audit will go over one or two things. Usually, an auditor, when they're checking out an organization, and that's how I'm going to act like an auditor checking out the design hub. Okay? So it's really Veronica that is the head of the organization that's being checked out. All right? And she has her own responsibilities, but I don't get to audit her because she's not in the class. But for instance, I might, for Mark, pick ISO section 8.1 and focus on this for Mark. And he would answer those particular questions. And I might work on 8.1 acceptance criteria with Evans. And with Katie, I might look at maintaining and documenting records. So you will get one section and we'll go over it. And it might take us 5 minutes, and it might take us 30 minutes. And if it takes us more than 30 minutes, then I'm searching too far. I'm not getting the answers we want. Okay? Does that make sense to you? So now here's the problem, is I'm not going to tell you ahead of time which section I'm going to audit you on, but I will tell you what your organization is being audited on. And it will most likely be, you will be asked one where you're doing sort of where you would know the most. And so I will be, as always, working with Veronica on this to go, okay, let's look at Rokai. What is Rokai working on? What type of stuff? Oh, I can focus in on this part of the standard with Rokai. Okay? So that's sort of, although I'm going to know, but I'm going to run this like a regular audit. Does that sound cool? And then hopefully I'll give an audit report to the Design Hub that can be distributed. Okay. And do you guys know what the final exam is then? It's the re-audit, and we haven't come to this yet, but that's where you do corrective actions where you find that you're not, as an organization, strongly working on part of the stuff. So wherever the organization is appearing a little bit weak out of all this, I'll start teaching that portion of it, and the final exam is the corrective actions. So then you'll have gone through an entire certification audit, and you can say that you're part of, I'll make up some sort of certification, ARC 5-star certified, right? Which is an ancient certification that I just made up. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. So let's take a look now, if I can find it. Sorry I was flipping through that. That's really annoying. I got to stop doing that. Here's a question sheet. And here it is again in two places that we can look. So this would be an example of what I might have, and I would give you the day before our audit so you can pull your information together. And it won't be the day before. It will be the week of your audit so that you can pull all of your information together. Okay? And I will be picking on one particular ISO section. And so this is so far my comprehensive list. You will be given certain questions out of here, and some of them will just be grayed out for you. Okay? It'll be there, but it will be grayed out for you. So this is going to be like my master sheet with all of my questions, and you will be given one sheet with certain questions either on it or not on it. Okay? And then it's up to you. I want you to figure this out. I know what I'm looking for here, but you're going to look at these. So this is you're going to give me your name and what your primary skill was that you were hired under. Modeler, programmer, Minecraft player, 2D graphic artist, whatever your primary skill was, you're going to put it there. And this is a list of all the projects that you've worked on. That's all of the projects that you've worked on. Okay? So now once we've got that down, then you're going to do a little bit more. And so this, you do need to have a record of what you were assigned. So hopefully you've got some sort of record that shows that you were assigned to a project. It could be something in Discord where you were assigned a role. It could be one of the to-do lists that project lists that Professor Torres gives you to show that you're on a certain project. You'll show where that is, and then you'll let me know which ISO section or sections require that you know that. Okay? So this is up to you, and I should, now that I'm saying it, you can have multiple sections here. Okay? So then the next one is show you that you know that the project is about. So these are not necessarily just straight restatements of the standard, but they're supposed to be what an auditor would look for, because this might go to multiple sections and it might be written 3 or 4 different ways. But in general, an auditor would want to know, do you know what your project is about? That's sort of a cool thing that we talk about. Okay? Um, and then, hopefully it's yes. And now here is where you're going to start picking one. Maybe I need to make this clear. I'm going to make this more clear. Okay, I'm supposed to be able to merge these. Do you guys see where it says to merge? It's not there. So where is it? There it is. Got it. Okay, found it. There we go. And so now I gotta do a little bit more work to get that to fit. There we go. Okay. So after that, show that you know what the project is about. Show that you know how what your part of the project is. Things like that. Okay? So that you know what makes a good outcome. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is come up and do a quick share and or just tell me, okay, what document do you have that shows you what projects you've worked on? Mark, what document or documents would you show here? And I'm going to file, make a copy. So let's say that we know that Mark worked on the iPhone AR project. Okay. What record do you have that you could show me that shows that you're assigned to that project? Cool. Okay, so we've got, and you can make a link to that. How about another one? What's another one that would? Because you wanna show multiples to choose from if you want. Okay, that's cool. You can type. That works just fine. So, yep. And so that there, and do you show up on those documents that describe the project? I'll show you one that would be, okay, so you would have those. Here would be a really quick one. You could just write the Discord iPhone chat channel. And that, I'm sure you could show your name on there, right? So you could show the Discord iPhone chat channel would be a record of it. Any of those Google Docs would be a record of it. How about your transmittal? Each week you're going to have a transmittal that is going to say, hopefully, a work in process that's going to show what project you're working on. It would be on the transmittal. Probably your quality blog. Now, we don't tag it to the time card. Many companies take care of this one right off the bat by on your time card every day or week you're supposed to list your project number. I hated doing that. Okay? So those would all be ones that would count for this. And you could list them all and you could have them all available. And you could say, well, look at all these things. And as an auditor, I'd pick one. And you would show it to me. And if there was a flub, then I'd really start looking. And auditors are so good at finding records that flub. It's just amazing. We would have a whole drawer full of inspection reports. They all have inspection certifications and when our equipment was checked and certified and calibrated. And they would reach in and find the one sheet out of 500 that the thing was out of calibration for a day. It's just amazing. And then they may check us everything. Okay, so you see how that goes? You just start thinking of every place you can go. And these can have links, or you can just know, and during the audit, you'll show your screen. These do not have to have links. It's easier, I think, because you're all well prepared. And then we'll talk about you going back to the ISO to figure this one out later on. Okay, so now I'm going to jump bases here and I'm going to ask Evans now. I'm going to pretend this one, I'm going to change this now, and it's going to be Evans. And this is going to be the Weld GLE safety game. Okay, and all of these are the same, right? Well, except for this one. This would be the Weld GLE chat channel. So that would be chat channel. So Evans, what do you know what your project is about? Right, so there's going to be an interactive welding game. So where would you find, show that you know that, okay? So your answer is that it's an using what? What platform? Okay. And so you've got that. So you go, oh, I got it. That's what it's going to be. I know it. I know what it is. And then where's your record that shows what that's all about? What record or records lets you know, lets me know as the auditor, you can show me that you actually do know that. You can prove it to me. Well, which Google Doc? Which Google Doc? Which? Because there's like, yeah, which one? Right. But in this case, it's the README. Right? Isn't that where everything is on that one? Let's take a quick look. and because this will be a good, that's at the very bottom, right in here. There it is right there, right? Yep. So in this case, it would be the README doc. What else? And didn't we do... Where was that one? That was not that one. When did we meet on that? There it is, right there. Okay, and I did record that one. So I need to put it on here. Let's go see. There it is right there. So shame on me for not getting that on there. So when we have these meetings, you really should be looking and you could just show one of those. Because that's really where a lot of this is happening. And I saw that. Oops, we're getting a lot of feedback. So could you guys mute for just a sec? Maybe it's from over there. So, like I saw that Mark and a couple other people put their meet recordings with TAC in their quality blog, and that makes a really excellent, that makes an excellent record. It's a recording. It's a record of the fact that you've done some meetings. And the ones where we show that you know what it's all about, a lot of those are those initial recordings. Okay? And you can put links in here, but I would then go ask you about those too. So does this make sense how you would go through here? Now, much of this information, you're going to be duplicating that over here. Okay? But they'll be up in this area. So what you're seeing down here is probably going to come from your information that's on your process checklist. Because remember, this isn't a formal required document from the Design Hub. This is just something to help you understand what you're doing that I'm having you do as an instructor. Okay, so this is not an official required Design Hub item. It's a good idea to have, but it's not necessary. This also is not an official Design Hub thing, but you'll notice that we're calling on things that you do and things that you record, especially things like quality blog, transmittal. Some of you might have out of your quality reflection. You might have that as the answer to some of these as part of your quality blog, right? So now you might come down here to when the work is due. Again, that's going to come from recordings, from your project logs, from your project planner, all sorts of things like that. But also, you might see that on your transmittal. Your transmittal often will say when the due date was. Supervisor knew that your work was completed. That's your transmittal, the planning documents, recordings, meetings. Okay, so these don't have to be formal documents. They can just be discussions. You might even have your own journal and your own notes that you use. Okay, but this is going to be part of your midterm. It's going to be your midterm. Actually, there's a set of work experience forms that are very quick and easy, take you 5 minutes to fill out. And then there's this, which hopefully will take you 5 to 10 minutes of chatting with me, although you'll have a half-hour time block. Okay, so that's what I wanted to present for you. Are there questions? Okay. Yes, this is recorded. And so I'll post this. Yeah, I'll post this on the calendar right here once I've got it done. Okay, and we'll have a couple more practice sessions for this too. Mark, how about you? Do you have any questions on it at this point? Okay. Veronica, do you have anything to add from Design Hub side on, filling things out and getting them in and making sure that what they're submitting to you is also usable for this or anything? So it shows that you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Oh, okay, I can't. Why is that? Okay, so I'm still not hearing it, so I'm going to bug out and I'll be back. That's better. Oh, no, I'm still okay, I'm back in and I'm still recording. Yep. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. And where are our templates? Now I have to find the template. Is it up in this one? Here they are. I found them. Okay. So let's go over these. And they are not exactly the same. They're close. So let's take a look at the work in process. Okay? So these are fairly straightforward, right? Put a number in, your name, what needs to be done for this piece of work. So this is for work that is not approved yet. It might even be done, but not approved by whoever is supposed to approve it. I need to share my screen. I am now. Okay, there we go. Okay. And so it might be done but not yet approved. So this is what still needs to be done. So things you might put here are waiting for approval, or working on edits, or just starting, something like that. How much longer till this piece of work is done? Not the project, but this piece of work that you're transmitting. Okay? And then how much has been used so far? So if you've got maybe 6 hours into it and you've got 8 hours more, that's kind of cool. We can go back then and look and see what we were kind of thinking. Oh, we thought this was a 2-hour project. What's up? Okay? So we don't have to be really specific, but about what's going on with these. Okay? Here it is. What project is this part of? So I'm going to use Evans as an example. He's got a trash barrel, and the one with no lid is done, approved, and accepted, and the one with a lid is not yet accepted. Okay? So he's got the trash barrel models to make, and so he's waiting for acceptance on the one with a lid, but it's part of the Weld GLE safety game. Okay? And who created it? Well, this was Evans's, and he's doing the transmittal, and it's being transmitted to. Now, this is the key part. When you do a transmittal, you don't just dump it into the folder. You also email it to somebody, because somebody's waiting for it, whoever that happens to be. Maybe it's the person who needs to do the approval. Maybe it's the project supervisor. Maybe it's one of your colleagues. Somebody needs to know that this thing is in this state and wants to see it. So this is a key one that I don't think is getting done fully yet. That should be an email address, and then that person should get a PDF of this. The date of the transmittal, where do you find it? Those are all kind of clear. Okay, clients. Now this is a little loosey-goosey. It can be the next person in line. It could be your immediate client, or it can be your overall client. And then some of this stuff may or may not apply. Okay? Keywords are very important. Job name is very important. So like job name can be different than what project this is a part of, but sometimes they're the same thing. Lots of keywords, and then sometimes there's a file or a folder and it's got a whole bunch of different parts to it, and so you would list those here. So that's work in process. It's not done yet. Okay, your file is not complete and accepted, but this is on a pretty granular level. Okay, it's not the entire project. It's the files that you're working on. And sometimes you have 3 very similar files, or you have a master file that's going to create 4 or 5 other files. And so you just put your main, like, as an example, there might be a Revit file. And from that Revit file, we're going to create an FBX, a DXF, 3 renderings, and a floor plan PDF. Okay, so when those are all done, my main Revit file goes up here, and all those associated files go down here. Okay, so that's work in process. Now let's take a look at the next one, which is completed work. And it's slightly different. Not much. Transmittal number. Okay, and this one should say, this should have a CW in it. Okay, so it should say CW, so we know that it's completed work. Same. Now, this one's slightly different than what we had before. It was, what do you still need to do to get this done? Now, often you're working on a large project and you just got done a part, and then you're going to go to a list or get assigned a new part of that same project. So this keys us that says, I've got more work. I'm going to select this or this as my next piece of work. Okay. And then this one, this is not quite as clear as it could be. Expected hours assigned to this work, that's your completed piece of work. Okay, so the thing that you've completed, there was an expectation, and we want to know what you used. Now, later on, you're going to find that we're going to have an opportunity to do corrective action where these are very disparate, and we can start looking at why. And the why could be, well, the project definition was terrible and I had to do it 3 times. Or the technology wasn't available when I wanted it. Or my collaborators were not time. So there's lots of reasons why they can be apart. And an important part of what we do is we go back later on and look at those. Okay, overall the same. Where is the product now found? This has now been finalized. It's accepted. It's approved. It needs to be in a place that's special where everybody can get to it. It's no longer in a little drive somewhere, on your drive, here, there, or anywhere. It's integrated in. And where is that now? We want to know. Okay, clients, source names, stuff like that. The use, again, this is a little bit ephemeral maybe and can be off. Okay, what was the production method or the software that you used? Okay, if there's multiple, put them down. Which versions or which equipment did you use of equipment? Who was the original author? All of this kind of stuff. And look, sometimes these things change totally depending on what you're working with. If it's an image, pixels makes a lot of sense. If it's a downloadable file, megabytes and gigabytes make sense. What are the units? License URL. Okay, if we need to know any copyright or licensing URL information, where is it? This is key. And then this one you make up. Creative Commons reuse and reusability. If we did it as Design Hub and it was all our resources and we didn't use anything by anybody else, we pick one of the Creative Commons that anybody can use it. Free. Okay, but we have to be watching for that. So in English, what can we do? Anybody can use this, or Only ARC people can use this or whatever. This one is key now. This is a new one. Validated for production. That means it is approved by somebody. And once it's approved, you need to know a couple of things. What did it meet to get approved, and who approved it? What standards were there? It was less than 2 minutes. It was on task. It was clear. It's in the right format. Now it's on YouTube. Whatever that happens to be, you write that down, and we need to know about that. Okay, validated for production. Date produced is essentially when it was validated for production. Quantity produced is not going to be too meaningful to us right now because we're not 3D printing and paper printing and making boards and stuff like that. Keywords and additional files. So there are some small differences. Most of them are down in this area here. The biggest difference is in completed work. We need the validation. We need to know that it's been validated. Okay? And there needs to be something that says it was validated. Now, the project planner has a column for that. And there's comments column and a status column and who's doing those. And there's usually some criteria written somewhere. So this one is super important for us. And you'll find that's where many companies really focus. And that's where auditors start to focus. So they're going to want to be looking at work, completed work, transmittals, and seeing some of the backup results and documentations. Okay, so Veronica, do you think that... Oh, we lost Veronica because she had to go to another meeting. Evans, Mark, and Tristan, do you think that gave enough of an overview, or do you have questions or comments that would help help Jessica with this? Okay. All right, then I'm going to stop the recording.